fabulous afternoon, everyone. So, doing a full reading today instead of just a rune casting because, well, we only really do one reading a week, right? And so I figured why not do the full one because, as you know, I do give out full readings. And if you would like one, simply drop down to the link tree down below in the description and check out my wish lists. And if you're interested, yes, you can even get one for someone you know. So, it's been a while since I've done like an actual just full reading. In fact, I don't even think the last reading we did, which was on Monday, was one that was completely full because I did not use our spirit animal. I didn't draw that one. In fact, I just kind of kept it very small and very focused. This one we're going to get a much fuller picture, and we're gonna kind of have a look at what we need to know, what's going to come up during the week, what we need to know to deal with it, and how it will all pan out. Provided we do the right things, of course. Because remember, this doesn't give you any definition of future. It just gives you possibilities, and it gives you insights. So, how did we do since Monday is one of the things that I asked the deck. And how are we going to do from now till next Wednesday? Also, there will not be a live stream this week. There will be one, not this Saturday, but next. And my co-host and I have talked, and we will be talking about Chalt. So if you haven't checked that game out by Avenger Satanas, I do recommend it. It is a very, very cool, what I like to call kitchen sink kind of game, where you get you get a little bit of everything, and no two sessions of Chalt are going to be alike. So, if you cannot afford the hardcovers, talk to Avenger. You can go to his blog. We'll be linking all that in the description on our live stream, so don't worry about a thing. Let's begin, shall we? Starting with us. Because we're not without our agency here. So have we truly let go? Have we let certain things come to an end? Because it really is the only way to get new beginnings out of things. And it's interesting that that is the first thing that comes up because I did set Scully out over here. And Scully has a way of bringing about those little endings that need to be brought about. And when he does, it does provide some pretty interesting times. Those interesting times being, you got to get used to a new class of things happening. So, here's the thing. It's important to not get stuck. And right now, if you're feeling a little stuck because that one thing has ended, you've let go of the negativity, you're trying to usher in that new thing so that you can really grasp hold of it. Just remember, getting stuck isn't the worst thing in the world, but it's important to not get that way. Instead, what's most important is getting yourself into a position where you can kind of take a rest. Because resting is important. You're not a machine. It's not just go, go, go all the time. I can tell you the differences between where I grew up, which I'm still working on that video, and here is down there it's a more relaxed, little bit of a slower pace. As a matter of fact, I went into a Dairy Queen and made an order for a taco salad, and it took a little while longer than expected to get to me. However, I just sat at my table and just waited. I wasn't going to bother anybody, wasn't going to go, bugging them. And the reason why is because I kept that in mind, that this is a much slower pace. Even though the Dairy Queen is technically a fast food restaurant, this is a much slower pace. You gotta have a little patience there. I could tell you most people around here would not do well down there. And most people from my hometown would probably not do well up here because they would see exactly what's going on and they would be pretty appalled by it. As a matter of fact, when I describe some of the things that happen around here, yeah, they were pretty appalled. So, and when I describe a much slower pace down there, people claim that they love it, but I'm telling you right now, if they would not be used to it at all, they would be very, very, very disturbed by it in some way. Matter of fact, my first night there, I had no TV in my bedroom. I had no TV, I had no Roku, I had nothing. And I didn't think to ask my mom for the password to the Wi-Fi router. So I pulled out my Kindle and I read a book. And then when I was ready to go, I shut it, I put it on the nightstand, I rolled over and I went right to sleep. When I woke up, I was a bit disoriented. I had my cell phone on to charge, I was looking around, but I knew I had the most peaceful night's sleep I've had in a very long time. So you can tell there's a difference here. And that difference is moving out of this pace that you're in into a newer pace. So if you're moving from a slower pace into a much faster pace, now you will have to work hard to keep up. You'll have to get used to new things. But if you're moving from a faster pace into something slower, you're going to have to you're going to have to exercise your patience a little bit. There is a transitional period here, but you're being guided by Frithgeard. And this is where this is why rest is important, because this is where the wars don't happen. The wars can't happen here. This is the place where you go and you just lay it back a little bit and you're like, okay, this is where you figure things out. This is where you work things out. That's why that rest is most important right now. Now let's look at your spirit animal. And here it is. The mouse spirit. So this is time to tend to what you think are trivial things. Again, this looks to be more about perspective than anything. Because right now when you're being asked to tend to those small things, those trivial things, you're being asked, or you're being guided, rather, to slow down, take a breath. You know, in yoga, it's breathing is a part of things. And if you're not owning your breath, I mean, your instinct when you get into an uncomfortable position is to go and hold your breath, and that's not the way to do it. Your muscles need oxygen in order to function properly. Do you see what I'm saying? So, oxygenate yourself. Take that breath. That is not a small thing. It's a thing you just don't think about because it happens automatically. Now, let's have a look. How can we do that mentally? Got that Page of Cups again. We've got a Magician in reverse. And then we've got a Queen of Swords. So let's start here. In the past position here, this was the news that you just got. And it seems to be really good news. This is a little more upbeat and lively. Very youthful, albeit sometimes you will think very naive, because at present you really don't have yourself together. This is where you need to spin this one around, because it is time to kind of pull yourself together. You know, that rest period, yes, now's a good time to fall apart if you need to. Take care of those emotional needs, because you do have them stemming from this. But it's also time to be very honest with yourself. Cut through the layers of bullshit. How have you been bullshitting yourself lately? Because this is what you need to do next. That Queen of Swords, cutting through all the layers, seeing the actual truth. That's what you need next. Physically speaking, we have an Eight of Wands in reverse. We have the Moon in reverse. And we have a King of Cups in reverse. It's kind of wild because physically, yes, this is a slowdown period. Remember when I said this was all transitory? That's exactly what this is. It's a transition period from life coming at you fast. We have all, I can tell you a lot of us have had life coming at us just super fast, and now we're on the other side of it, and we're kind of like, what do we do? What do we do next? That's always the worst part. But it is easily dealt with, because we tend to regard these times as scary and not very well lit, but right now it's not as scary or as dark as you may think it is. As a matter of fact, this is the part where this Queen of Swords, what's going on in your brain, making sense of all that is what's going to help with this, because right now you're not feeling that. Right now you don't have mastery over your own emotions. And in the physical sense, this can look very bad on you. When people look at you, when people see you, they can see that you really don't have a lot of self-control. You're kind of panicking, you're kind of worrying. But this is where you may need help, spiritually speaking. We also have a Queen of Coins in reverse. We have the Two of Cups there. And we have a Nine of Swords in reverse. So, I'm actually kind of really interested in this Nine of Swords, and I don't know why. But anyway, Queen of Coins, this is not about being opulent. And right now, if you've moved from a position of financial security to financial instability, many of us have. Life has come at you fast before, now it's all slowed down. Everything's kind of in a state of flux at the moment. Now's a good time to really take stock of your finances. But not just finances. With this being in the spiritual row here, having your spiritual currency, getting that under control. Why are you not in that sort of spiritual state of opulence? Are you feeling like maybe you're spiritually a little empty? And this is why I say asking for help. Now, this is not necessarily the Lover's card here. This is soulmate. So, you may be wrestling with some serious demons right now. But understand something. There is help there. The reason this is called the soulmate card is not because this is where you meet the one that you love the most and you live happily ever after. This is where you meet the person that is going to be guiding you. Little do you know, you may just be helping each other out. And it's important to stay open to both receiving and what you send and receive. That is very important to stay aware of. And then we have this Nine of Swords. Now this Nine of Swords, that's a card that pops up quite a bit for us, isn't it? Because when we have the Nine of Swords come up, we're always kind of looking at it going, okay, this is your decision making controlled by anxiety. However, with it being in reverse, this is where you get some acceptance, some letting go, accepting that help, and you get a sense of hope out of it. So it's important to remember this is not a card you don't want to make decisions out of anxiety. This is where you start becoming more accepting of those things. Remember the things I said where you're kind of bullshitting yourself at some points? Yes, this is where that stops. You accept that. Now you have hope because now you know the way to move forward. That's going to happen spiritually. So the mind, the body, and the spirit, they need to start coming together. I know the Magician is in reverse right now. That rest period is going to be very important to putting all of it together. So you do need to take that breath. You do need to take a step back, and you need to start looking at things because right now you're in a state of disarray. Let's have a look at the map. So we start with commitment. So, what are you committed towards right now? That's the question you need to ask yourself. So, this is where you start. This is the starting point on your map. To what are you committed? And more importantly, why? Because that's important. When we say commit, I can tell you there was a video I watched back probably about like 3-4 years ago, where a guy was showing some urban survival techniques, and he was showing what happens when you move into a town that seems deserted. And there's a sort of a drawbridge that had been lifted up, and he needed to get across it. Well, he took his line, he took a crowbar, he swung it over there and used it like a grappling hook. He made a loop at the bottom, and he put his foot in it, and he's going to swing himself Tarzan style from one end to the other. He said, now that you have all this together, commit. And he just stepped off and swung himself over, grabbed hold of the bottom rafter, and got himself loose of it all. Was able to kind of, loop it all up to throw it over his shoulder, and climbed around until he was across. He was committed to getting across. He wasn't going to let that big, wide river stand in his way. He knew that there was something in there he needed, and he was going to take a chance on whether or not he was going to get it. So commit to that, and don't waver. The next thing, we have a bit of a sad embrace here. Sometimes acceptance, it comes with a lot of sadness. When you realize that you've been kind of fucking yourself, sometimes that can be very sad, and you're like, why didn't I see this before? Sometimes it's your fault. Sometimes it's not. But here's the thing, right now. So, if you have a relationship that's built on faulty foundations, right now that's meant to end. Disappointment, that's a form of perception. So if your expectations weren't met, that sense of loss starts arising along with sadness and grief. Again, what do I do now? So growth is always assured, but whatever the loss, however great it is, let go and experience those feelings so you can see what lies ahead. A lot of us have suffered huge losses these days. Some of us more than others. And I can tell you right now, it's not an easy thing to deal with. But once we let go of that, once we let go of the loss itself, we can start to see the other side. It's probably going to take some time. Finally, remember that mouse spirit. Details, details. Don't get too hung up on them, but make sure you're paying attention to them. When you've got that commitment, you got your rest. When you're ready to let go, just remember the most powerful patterns are created within the tiniest details. So again, pay attention. So this is the time to be aware of the fine print in all areas of your life. So look at those details, leave behind the broad strokes for another time. This is a sign to finesse a project, even if that project's you. Add that personal touch to your correspondence. Make small, meaningful gestures. Just be aware of what you need to know. Be aware that what you need to know lies in the details. So if you're entering into an agreement, pay attention to them not before, not after, when it's too late. Clarity and transparency are everything. You can gain a lot of understanding just by observing the minute body language, offhand remarks, and fleeting facial expressions that reveal a much larger picture. So tend to those small things, even if those small things are something that you need. Let's go to your runes and find out what's going on. Starting with none other than Nothies. Tending to your needs is going to be everything. Whether that's emotional, physical, spiritual, mental, all of the above need to be paid attention to. We do have Sawulo. Oh wait, this is not Sawulo. Nope. That is not Sawulo. Aha. The yew tree. I was writing the yew tree. I was like, I remember that much. The yew tree. Sorry guys, it's been a week. So, this is your loyalty, this is your love, this is your friendship, this is the value of what is enduring beginnings after endings. And of course, using what you have. So it's important to also remember that the yew tree is known for being flexible. That which does not bend will eventually break. It's important to remain flexible, people. Finally, we've got Ride-Ho. That one I remember. Ride-Ho is all about your journey, not about your destination. With Ride-Ho itself, you want to keep in mind that the destination is never what's most important. Again, this one is about making that journey as part of your growth and development. Because once you do that, it becomes much more than just a simple, I start at point A and end up at point B. Starting at point A and ending up at point B is always nice, but guess what? Some days it's not like that. Some days you do have to engage a little bit. Hang on to, what's there and what isn't. Notice things along the way. But it's gonna cause a little bit of self-reliance from Nalthese. Let me tell you something right now. The overall message here is that in order to maintain your strength, you're going to have to refuel yourself. You're going to have to take a little bit of downtime. And thank goodness there are some people who are able to recognize that, because they're already ahead of the game and they're already doing it. But the question is, are you? Take that rest. Have a look around. It's like Ferris Bueller said, life goes by pretty fast, and if you don't stop and look around sometimes, it can pass you by. So just remember, today, be a little Ferris Bueller. Take that day off. Take that rest. If you can't do it today, do it tomorrow. If you can't do it any of those days, do it this weekend. And if you need any advice, know one thing. My channels are always open. The link tree down below has more than just my wish lists. Come talk to me. Maybe we'll figure it out together. Alright? Talk to someone. If you really need help, talk to someone. Find someone you can talk to. Find someone who understands your problem if you have one. And if you don't, be the understanding ear someone else needs. We work so much better when we work together, don't we? I think so. Alright, that's it for me. Just remember, I love you all. I want you to take care of yourselves and each other. I want you to always do what lights you up. And as always, shine on.